We welcome you and thank you for joining our session on clinical trial e-consent. My name is Hernando Giraldo, and I am the Global Head of Digital Development for Boehringer Ingelheim. And I'm also the co-lead for the e-consent use case. For the next few minutes, we're going to share with you our use case and how blockchain can help shape the consenting process to help improve data capture, minimize non-compliance, improve the patient's experience in this process.
Thank you, Hernando. My name is Despina Dayani, and I'm the other co-lead for the use case for the e-consent. So before we take you through the informed consent process, we would like to explain the clinical trial process after the participant has been approached. The trial participant initially has to be informed on the study, and the informed consent has to be obtained confirming a voluntary participation in the study. After the informed consent form has been signed, the patient then gets screened to confirm their eligibility. Their data gets collected and evaluated in relation to what the trial is checking. Then it gets shared with only the appropriate permission users that are participating in the study. Currently, the informed consent and the rest processes are done through a manual process. The annual reports from the regulatory authorities from inspection shows that there are over 50% processes that are inadequate to ensure the clinical trial's quality. There are over 50% clinical trial records that are inaccurate or not complete. Out of these findings, 5 to 10% are related to the compliance with the clinical trial protocol. The protocol is the instruction manual on how to do the clinical trials. Now, we would like to ask you a question through Slido, which is, which of the four do you think is the most important step in a clinical trial? So, which is the most important step of the clinical trials? It is the informed consent. What is impacted by it? It is a critical aspect because it impacts everything. The trial cannot proceed without getting an informed consent from the participants. If there are no participants, there is no trial. The blockchain technology can help adjust issues we currently see related to the protocol compliance, the completeness of data, and the quality. It is a one shared source of truth which adds immutability, automation, trust, and real-time updates. Since the informed consent is a key component, it can help manage this proposed automated process. Because of this, we would like to see how the blockchain can help with the whole process by incorporating the informed consent, as it can help manage the key aspects that need to be done before the trial starts and it progresses. So, informed consent is a process. The trial participants, what happens throughout this whole procedure is that the trial participants are informed in detail about the purpose of the study and its procedures. Then they're informed of the risks of participating in the study, as well as the benefits. There is also a disclosure of alternative advantageous procedures, if any, that could be beneficial for the participant. The participants are given an explanation of whom to contact for any pertinent questions or any research-related injury to themselves. They're reminded of the extent of the data confidentiality related to their records, and they are also being told that the participation is voluntary and that they will not lose any benefits by refusing to participate or withdraw from the study at any point. This process is cumbersome but extremely important. It is key that the language is understandable, the participants can ask as many questions as they want, and that there is enough time given to the potential participants to finalize their decisions for participation. Now, I will pass it on to Hernando, who will continue guiding you throughout the use case.
Thank you, Despina. We know that GCP inspections identify between 2 and 7% of consent-related issues. If we look down into the current process, we can observe that the processes are complex, inefficient, and non-compliance risks exist at every touchpoint. Because of our inability to have one unified platform for these process actors to manage trial conduct, we also see that data is siloed, less transparent, and confusing. This unfortunately presents the reality that in today's model, spot check inspections are limited to spot noncompliance. This adds cost and site burden to an already complex process. Now, as we shift our focus from the as-is to the to-be, we want to share a glimpse of the possibilities in blockchain to transform no matter the industry, the product, or the service. In 2016, Walmart ran a proof of concept to track delivery of food into their stores, from source, the farm, through the scanners at the point of sale. 2 years later, in 2018, Walmart was then tracking 25 products in their systems powered by Hyperledger Fabric. The success of this POC led Walmart to announce to all their suppliers that leafy greens would now be required to use blockchain-based systems in 2019. Imagine where they are today. The metric takeaway from this use case is that for certain food items in the US, the time needed to trace their provenance went from 7 days to 2.2 seconds. Conducting a clinical trial in a blockchain ecosystem brings in these elements that are missing today: transparency, security, trust, and efficiency. Trial data is no longer siloed. The actors see data pertinent to the trial participant status in real time. Even when the participant opts out, the status is seen by the labs as well as the other actors. This means sample processing, patient privacy rights, and adherence are immediately seen. The regulatory authority role switches from oversight to first sight. Real-time captures and real-time reporting offer transparency via regulators through their permission views. This changes the landscape for everyone, including our regulatory folks. When we look at the design concepts that blockchain offers, it becomes clear free consent and all the stakeholders are to benefit. From trial participants to clinical sites, sponsors, clinical research organizations, and even the regulatory and ethics committees see substantial gains. For the trial participant, it's patient empowerment. The clinical sites ensure auditability, traceability of data. The sponsors and research organizations ensure patient safety. Laboratory partners demonstrate compliance, and our regulatory authorities and ethics committees have confidence that trial conduct is GCP compliant, which can correlate to patient safety. In conclusion, we hope that this has been informative, illuminating, and inspiring. As we emerge out of this pandemic world, the timing for transformational change is now. Blockchain can be that catalyst for change. We thank you. And now I'll turn it over to Disa and Francesca, who will speak about the use of IoT devices in clinical trials.
Thank you to all of our presenters there. So we've come to the end of the 4 presentations, and before we jump into the live Q&A with the speakers, we're going to take a quick look at the results of the poll questions that were being posted during the presentations there. The second question was asked during the e-consent presentation with Hernando and Despina, and they asked, what do you feel is the most important step in a clinical trial? And as we can see, exactly, or just over half of respondents agree that informed consent is the most important step in the clinical trial, with data collection and analysis following, and data sharing following that. So interesting result there. Okay, so that takes us through the results of the poll. We're now going to open the live Q&A session with today's speakers. We have a question here, I think, for Hernando and Despina regarding e-consent. Is there any concept available about how to deal with future research consents, as these last longer than the actual study?
So thank you. Let me see if I can answer this. So I'm assuming that future study would indicate that there's a use of maybe biosampling. I'll just take that tact and address it that way. One of the components that is not widely discussed here, but is also part of something that the PharmaLedger is doing, which is very critical to the other use cases, is going to be identity management. And identity management that has self-sovereign ID as well. So therefore, the ability to place these processes that we've discussed on the block, or part of it on the block, and then bringing in a component like identity management allows us then, as the trials conclude and we're still using portions or data from those trials, the patient's ability to self-identify and be anonymous and remove consent even after the trial is completed is one of the components that we're looking to also further develop. So hopefully it's the best answer I can give right now, but I think now we're talking about some really cool, jazzy stuff for the future. So stay tuned on that.
Sure, thank you, Hernando. The next question, I think, is to Hernando and Despina. It's a question around e-consent. How will the identification of the patient be ensured in a remote setting? So, Hernando, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I think this also kind of bears a little bit on the previous answer that I gave. So when we talk about e-consent or remote consenting, right, identifying who you are, as the joke says, on the internet, no one really knows who you are, yeah? I think what's important here is, again, we're going to be looking at ways where we can identify the patients or the trial participants in the home or in a remote location through the use of tools like SSID, like self-sovereign identification, or ID management tools that play nicely with the blockchain solutions like e-consent and the other things that are downstream of e-consent. So I think that's an area that, again, we're going to focus on. It's critical for the way we move forward with blockchain, but also from a consenting process, the ability to bring trials and trial conduct to the home, if you will, right? Remote trials and e-consent.
Super, thank you. The next question is related to e-consent, I think. We use data from trials for many secondary uses. Would this still be possible or require reconsent? Would be an issue, as then we may not have a full data set. So I don't know if Hernando, you want to pick this one up?
Yeah, sure. Let me give it a shot. So, or Despina can also jump in on this. So again, one of the components that we're looking at is the ability to not only just consent someone, whether it's face-to-face, end-to-end, ET, they say, remote consenting away from the trial site itself, but also post the closure of a trial, the ability to actually, again, go back and get that participant's consent on future use of information. This leads us back again to the upfront part of the process, which is the ID management component. Being able to also communicate with the trial participants, patients, that a need has arisen and we now need their consent to move forward, reconsenting through the use of ID management within the consenting process. I hope I didn't confuse that too much, but again, it goes back to understanding the patient, understanding their journey, when we need to consent them, reconsent them, and as the trial continues into closure, also the ability to reconsent because data is needed and we want to continue using that data. So we reconsent with the patient again through processes and principles like ID management and self-sovereign IDs.
Okay, thank you. And I guess while we have you there, there's another question, how PharmaLedger e-consent solution differentiates with existing e-consent SaaS or SaaS solutions.
That's sure. So if I do a landscape assessment, there are very few to none in our world right now. The IQVIAs, you name the platform, right? Anything from drug dev or if I look down the line, they're actually using blockchain as the underpinning to solutions. So that means that a lot of the principles, the trust, the immutability, traceability don't exist in the same level or the same caliber as they do when you put something on the block or you write data to a block. That's the biggest, right? Second, I think the importance there is the way that the data becomes open and not siloed anymore, and the ability to also build something that we talked about in the presentation, ecosystems. Yeah. So right now, a lot of the tools that are in place are self-sovereign, self-contained. They don't really provide a lot of views into the process. The way we're building our consenting module with PharmaLedger is through an ecosystem, giving views to many of the different actors. That doesn't exist in many of the platforms.
Okay, super, thank you. Okay, our next question relates to e-consent, so maybe Hernando or Despina can pick this one up. How do you plan to get doctors and sites and regulators on board with this idea?
Okay, perfect. So this is Despina. I'll be speaking on this. In regards to how we'll get doctors and sites and regulators on board with this, we currently have something on the project that is another team that is working on this. And also we have the collaboration platform that will be helping with getting them on board.
Super.
Thank
you, Despina. Okay, our next question relates to e-consent, so maybe Hernando or Despina can pick this one up. How do you plan to get doctors and sites and regulators on board with this idea?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is Despina. I'll be speaking on this. In regards to how we'll get doctors and sites and regulators on board with this, we currently have something on the project that is another team that is working on this. And also we have the collaboration platform that will be helping with getting them on board.
Super.
Thank you,
Despina. Our next question is sort of a wider question. So maybe Xenia or one of the project coordinators for PharmaLedger can answer this. Blockchain has been used without specificity. Which blockchain platform? And how do you intend to scale the voluminous data processing and use?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Xenia, go ahead.
When we talk about the PharmaLedger platform, okay, I mean, when we talk about the platform, we talk about the PharmaLedger platform. So all the use cases are built as applications on the top of the platform that we have designed and that we are deploying. So actually, in our platform, we are based in a new concept, which is called OpenDSUs. And this concept is key in the platform and it stands for Open Data Sharing Units. And it's a technology that works as a container for data and the code being built in the blockchain. It's a container that is cryptographically secure and anchored in the blockchain and in the control of the user. So what is behind of this platform and this architecture that is being deployed and designed and built in PharmaLedger is that from what we start in this project right from the beginning, our goal has been to be agnostic to the blockchain technology and remain as neutral as possible to the blockchain technology that is selected by each of the use case solutions. So for this purpose, for example, the OpenDSUs are also blockchain technology agnostic. They support any kind of programmable blockchain technology. So this is what we are building at the level of PharmaLedger. We're building not only the capabilities, but also the infrastructure to support this. The platform is foreseen to be scalable. And actually, right now, the applications that are in the top are the ones that are representing all the 8 use cases, okay, that PharmaLedger is developing, okay, the ones that are in the supply chain and the ones that are in health data and clinical trials that have been presented today. But the idea is that it will host new use cases and scale for this data and support the applications on the top of this architecture that is and platform that is being built.
Actually, Xenia, there is a follow-up question which has come up, which is who and which suppliers would make these blockchains a reality? This is costly work and there are no off-the-shelf solutions. So can you talk about the supplier issue there?
Well, this is something that is being discussed from the beginning of the project, okay, together with the design of this platform and the PharmaLedger infrastructure. We are putting together a whole work package and task, okay, to define how it's going to be the governance of the platform. And in this case, everything is being defined in this work package, and still there is, I mean, as commented before, we're in design phase. This is not a decision taken, but we are designing all this, let's say, approach that will go together with the governance of the platform and the blockchain producing PharmaLedger.
Actually, there's many questions coming in for you, Xenia. There's another one here. If you could describe the process for achieving agreement on the data governance by all the consortium for all or any of the studies that are going on.
Okay, so as commented from the beginning of the project, we have focused on the governance of the blockchain. But through all the developments, okay, and right now, for example, we have approached areas such as data interoperability through the DSUs, okay, adoption of standards, integration of standards as such as part of the data management. And now we just have been here for a year, and we are in our second year. And in this second year, we're starting what is called the sustainability approach of PharmaLedger. And in this sustainability approach, okay, is integrated what it's going to be, or what it needs to be done and designed as part of the data governance. So preliminarily, what we have in our work to do, it's set out as a framework that to define the clear roles and responsibilities and interdependencies of those roles. Okay. So this includes to introduce data policies, principles, data policies as common principles, let's say, for the governance body that is taking on the blockchain, guidance and working practices in the area of data management to support what is the data governance. So this is something that we are starting now as part of the sustainability plan.
Super. Thank you, Xenia. Our next question, I think this is a sort of a high-level question, so maybe Xenia could pick this up. How to join PharmaLedger? It's asked by someone who says they have developed a scalable use case that fits 100%. Xenia.
Yes. Okay, right now we're in the phase of developing the architecture and the platform. So we interact with other use cases, also the projects and initiatives, but we will open for all these use cases and scalable use cases, okay, when we finish part of the deployment and finish the project phase. But for sure, okay, you can contact us at contact@pharmaledger.eu. We receive a lot of the interactions through there, and also we will be also very interested in see the trials that are going and that might be fitting, okay, for PharmaLedger as such, for sure. So either through the website or through our email, for sure.
Yeah, sure. Very good. Our next question, I think, is for Xenia to answer. Who will manage these blockchain platforms? Xenia.
Well, it's actually defined how it's going to be managed. Since day one that I started this project, we have in parallel a task and an area that is defining the governance of the project as such. So we've been evaluating different models. We have some recommendations internally, okay, to how to approach this. And this is going to be defined and really shaped for the end of the project to see how the governance and the management of the platform is going to be provided. So it's in process right now.
Super. Thank you, Xenia. The next question is, when could patients expect solutions to be available? So Xenia, if you could pick this one up.
Yes, actually these solutions, okay, will be taken to pre-operative environment at the end of the project. That's 2022. So following that will be, and the idea is that they will be productized, okay, to be allowed for patients and other users to be used as such. However, from now through the patients organization, just to say that if patients want to see and want to collaborate in the development, part of what our idea and part of what our practice is that we're doing co-development. So actually through patients organization, you can come and participate and provide your insights. So how would you like to see these applications in the future? So it's a great insight for PharmaLedger to have the insights from the patients as well as from health providers. We have some already in the partnership as commented, as well as the patients organizations that are in the project. So please, it would be great if you want to participate and provide insights. So contact the patients organization to also support your view in PharmaLedger.
Super. Okay, Xenia, I think this next question you might also be able to help us with. Given that there are other similar solutions in development, how will you build the critical mass to ensure PharmaLedger is successful?
Well, that's right. Okay, but we are doing so also from the beginning. I mean, together with governance, we are also having some other task that is building this critical mass. Okay, it goes to patient through patients organization. We are building also a relationship with other projects, with other initiatives, not only in blockchain, but also a regulatory, let's say, level. Okay, so we are networking and actually building this critical mass to really disseminate when ready all the platform and have already a community that goes technically and as users, okay, around PharmaLedger when it's ready.
Thank you. And I think you might be able to help us with this next question as well. Will Big Pharma own these solutions?
Well, these solutions, the ones that are built now, okay, are part of the consortium. So the consortium is rules and have, okay, several documents that are called agreements, and behind these agreements there are IPRs. But I mean, they are collaborative. I mean, this is a PPP, and all developments right now are done under collaborative approach. So it's part of the PharmaLedger and part PharmaLedger consortium, and however, this will be transferred to the next generation of PharmaLedger, let's call it like this, okay, which will have its own governance.
Thank you. I think just given the time, we're just going to take one more question. The next question is probably maybe to Xenia or one of the team in terms of the technology. How many ledgers and nodes do you have on a possible chain code?
Okay, I'll try to answer the question. Just to comment that maybe when we say this, we're missing some concepts or bringing some concepts from the Hyperledger. So the first thing to comment in this area is that we are blockchain agnostic. Okay, so we can use Hyperledger, Ethereum, Enterprise, or any other. Also, as commented, our platform is based on the DSU. So the DSU could be a microledger, and we reduce the need of chain code or smart contracts. Okay, we put the logic, okay, inside of the DSU as such to support this approach. So this is, I mean, this concept, I guess, comes a little bit as commented for the Hyperledger. So actually, we have a little bit an additional direction that is based on DSU as a microledger as such. I'm not sure if also someone else want to comment here.
Okay, so I think that covers all of the questions that have been submitted. So thank you to everyone who's asked a question today. But with that, we've come to the end of the second public PharmaLedger webinar. Thank you to all the speakers who've presented today and to the production team who've made the event happen. And thank you to the audience for attending and for your questions and taking part in the polls during the event. We hope you found it interesting. As I said earlier, a recording of these webinars is available via the PharmaLedger website and the PharmaLedger YouTube channel. And on the website, you can subscribe to the PharmaLedger newsletter, where you'll receive updates on the progress of the project. And And you can also on the website and through the newsletter find the dates for our future webinars, which are coming up later this year. But until then, we look forward to seeing you at the next event, and thank you for your attendance today. Thank you.